is done, the grill kind of stops. Hey everybody, welcome back for episode 4 on the truck. Got some laser cutting parts. We're gonna start with this. This is the upper bracket that I was showing you guys last time on CAD. It has been cut and formed, and I've already kind of loose fit it between the rails just to make sure that it's gonna work, and it is. And then I'm gonna show you how I goofed on that part. Remember the rad bracket that I was showing you? I made it too low somehow. I don't know how, but I did. I missed the mark by a ½ inch about, so this bung should actually be a ½ inch higher. Everything else worked out really well. I'll show you here. Bracket looks pretty sick. It bolted in really nice, but the rad's too low. So I also welded this bracket on there. So I gotta adjust that. That's not that big a deal though. It could have been a lot worse. So I am perfectly happy to resend this drawing to Chris and get this formed up again with those holes moved a ½ inch higher. Okay, so once again, this is the Crossmember that I designed. It's got, you can tell, the swoop back, and it obviously fits in between the Crossmember, or the frame rails, I mean, sorry. Chris did a wicked job laser cutting it and forming it. So yeah, I'm gonna weld these corners up, flush them, put a couple TIG stitches there just so that, you know, is finished up there. And then it's gonna sit in there like so. So same thing, I'm gonna have to drill a bunch of holes in the chassis and put some weld bungs in there and flush them out so that we have some good threads to grab. And I'm also going to do the same to the back of here so that when this is all sat together, all I have to do is bolt through here. Keep in mind the gap is because there's going to be bushings on all 6 of them. So I'm going to go ahead and get those bungs welded in now, and then we'll go clamp this in and I'll start laying out my holes. Okay guys, it's a couple nights later. I did wind up putting this Crossmember in the other night when I took the video right before this one. I did only weld in a couple of bungs in the chassis just to get this thing kind of located, and I'm pretty happy with it. It fit really well. You know, my charge pipe idea, that was really just kind of to fit that in there. That charge pipe's not actually made. I need to make it the slightest bit longer actually, I think. But yeah, I'm super happy with that. So Chris cut me the other bracket for the radiator support. I should have it, today's Monday, I should have it Tuesday or Wednesday, I think. So in the meantime, I'm gonna suck it up and I'm gonna crawl under this thing and start whacking out the original tranny Crossmember. I don't know if you wanna call them stubs or what, but the original mounts that are welded to the chassis in this thing underneath where the old Crossmember would have had those 2 bolts go through. So I'm gonna sawzall them out roughly, and then I'm gonna clean them up with a grinder, and then I'm gonna start designing the new one, I guess. You can see how low that hangs, and you can see how it's been absolutely smashed to bits from this truck being so low. Yeah, so I'm gonna gain, by ditching that, it doesn't really look it in this, but it's probably a solid inch, inch and a half of height. Again, that's the lowest point of the truck, so I'm pretty excited to not high center on that anymore or smash that off the ground, because you can feel it in your feet. It's basically right under your butt when you're sitting in the truck, and it is not an awesome feeling when you catch that thing going, you know, 60 miles an hour down the road. So I'm gonna get out the Sawzall, I'm gonna whack these 2 stubs off. I don't know how far I'm gonna get tonight. It's already getting pretty late, but I gotta feel like I accomplished something. So here goes. This might seem like one of the dumbest things I'm gonna say, but out of all the stuff we've done to the truck, up till now, this is one thing I'm most excited about. I've been talking about knocking this crossmember out of this friggin' thing for 7 or 8 years probably now, and just never pulled the trigger because I'm a wimp. But anyway, that's not for me hitting it out. All I did was saw it straight down. See how that's folded over the wrong way? It should look like that. So yeah, they're out. I got some grinding to do to clean up under there. But then I'm gonna start designing the new crossmember, which I'm excited to show you because I think I've got a pretty good plan in my head. We're gonna build it out of DOM. And I've got a little kind of rib cage idea worked out. There is actually another crossmember kind of midway down that is flush with the bottom of the frame. So I'm gonna tie it into that, bring a straight tube up, and then curve it into the chassis this way. It'll kind of look like the roll cage tube that you can't see. It'll look sort of like that, except parallel to the chassis rail. So we're gonna start knocking that out. And then I theoretically will have the drivetrain fully mounted. I can't totally do the driveline angles yet, which is kind of annoying because I have a 9-inch housing coming for this. So we are gonna put a 9-inch in the back of it. This differential is really hurt, and that's ultimately kind of why the motor, I guess for lack of a better term, died last time. I really tried to push this truck for a 9-second pass and just couldn't get there. And I just kept throwing power at it and throwing power at it and throwing power at it, and the diff just couldn't hang on. And anyway, we wound up hurting some stuff. So I'm not gonna do that this time. We're gonna put one hell of a diff in it, and everything else is gonna be able to stand up to it. So yeah, I'm gonna get back to grinding. All right, I've had enough for tonight. I got one side totally done. That's all the grinding dust. So half of it's on me, half of it's on the floor. But I'm gonna show you what's done here. Been doing this basically with the chassis 4 inches off my chest also, which sucks. So that's the old, that used to be there and there. And you can still see the littlest piece on the top. I am gonna leave that until I can get this thing on the hoist because, I mean, obvious reasons, that sucks. So this already sucked, but it's done. I got to get a little close up here with the Sawzall, so I got a little bit of welding work to do. Again, I'll put it on the hoist and clean that up, but overall, pretty happy with how that came out. So I'll probably do that one tomorrow night, but it's almost 10:30 and I've had enough, so I'm going home. Welcome back to the day after, yesterday. Tuesday? I think today's Tuesday. I just finished cutting out the brackets on the other side that I was talking about last night. Sucks. I'm so glad that's over. You can see I'm covered in grinding dust. My nose is full of grinding dust. And that's after I've swept already once. So, crawl back under, I guess. Show you guys the same thing I showed you last night. And then I'll show you the kind of tentative plan I have for the tube work. I'll just draw it on a piece of cardboard or something because obviously I'm not gonna lay out a bunch of tubes and make any sense with it. So yeah, let's see underneath first and then we'll go to the tubes. Okay, so there you go. There's the other side cleaned up. Proved it. So everything's flush. Same thing again. I nicked it a couple times with the Sawzall disc, but or Sawzall blade, I mean. But yeah, easy enough to fix. That will happen when it's on the hoist, and I'm not laying basically with the transmission or that or the transfer case or this rail laying on me. I just want to get the majority of the farting around done under here because, as you can see, both my hoists are currently busy. So yeah, I feel very good about that. So anyway, the plan now is we're gonna keep this crossmember, and then I am hoping that I'm going to be able to bring some DOM tube, kind of angle it out of here, bring it straight up along this frame rail, and then tie it in up here, thus giving me a good spot for a training cross member, a couple other spots to tie some tubes in, and probably needlessly over strengthening the front section of this chassis. But yeah, let's go draw it and I'll show you what I mean. Okay, so this is basically looking at the top of the chassis, motor and tranny all sits in here. This is that cross member I just showed you. So what I'm thinking is I'm gonna bring, you know, a piece of DOM tube kind of straight down like this and kick it in like that, and then maybe do a couple cross tubes here. Maybe angle these up because obviously the rail is like 8 inches tall or 6 inches tall, something like that. And then I'll be able to tie some tabs in here for the training cross member that'll have a bolt through it. And then the training cross member will go, you know, something like that. And it'll tie into this side. And hopefully I'm a better tube worker than I am a drawer, and I can make this, you know, kind of something like that. Again, probably tie something in there and maybe there with the intent of making room for a 5-inch exhaust. And yeah, that's what I'm hoping for. Again, it should be way overkill for what the truck is, and but you know, the old measure once, cut twice phrase is not an option. So I'd like to do this and do it once and just get it done and over with. And this will give me a way more ground clearance, way more strength, and an excuse to use my tube bender, which I don't get to use a whole lot. So that's what I'm planning for that. I'm probably gonna go home now because again, it's 25 to 10. I've had enough. I'm covered in grinding dust. I can taste it. I can hear it, which makes no sense, but it's in there. So I'm gonna go have a shower, and we might start tackling one of these or both of these or some kind of plan like that tomorrow night. So bye. Wednesday night, we're back. I got the new rad bracket. So I'm gonna take a break from chassis stuff because I'm sick of laying on my back and tackle this. If you guys remember, I screwed up this relationship in the height here somehow. This should be basically flush up here. These 3 bolt holes that hold the radiator, we're holding it too low, obviously, by 1/2 inch. So the air gap for the coolers was non-existent. So yeah, I actually couldn't even fit the heat exchanger in there because it was like 1/4 inch into that part. So anyway, I'm going to take this one off and then have to weld my bosses on like I did on this one. Shout out to Chris at ReadySetCut for doing all the laser cutting and forming for us. We put in at least an order a week from him, and the dude's awesome. So if you're in Canada, specifically Ontario, ReadySetCut, send him a CAD file or a DXF, and it'll get you figured out. So yeah, anyway, I'm gonna take this off, I'm gonna weld that, and then we'll try again. I have much better news about this version. I didn't show it bolted in. I got a little excited when it was on the bench, so I just rushed over here and installed it. But look at that, it fits freaking perfect. Decided to mount it using the actual bushings that it'll be mounted on. You can see this bracket's got the bolts in there. I'm really, really happy with how this fits. We got some super tidy gaps here. like I said a while ago, now that that side is in, I can design this mount, and kind of what I'm hoping to do is make it so that it catches here and down there, so that it's structurally this way, but I'd also like to put a brake in it and some type of other fastener point so that it acts as kind of an air dam to keep all the air that's going to hit the radiator, you know, on this side where the actual cooling stack is, keep it all going through the rad instead of kind of hitting the rad and then being diverted to the turbo. So it might just be a flange for now, but it'll probably have some type of bulkhead down here for the AC hard lines to come through. And then probably some type of mounting situation so that I can put an actual like diverter plate that'll kind of follow the face of the grill profile, so that, again, I can keep that cooling stack totally like, I don't know, encapsulated. There'll be a piece of, you know, shrouding or whatever in there too, to keep, again, just to force all the air through the cooling stack, instead of having, you know, the air go around it. Air is just like water. It will find the path of least resistance. And I want to force it through that cooling stack. The grill kind of stops, you know, around here on this thing. So I want to build kind of the same thing again, you know, over here. And I have in my brain this idea that I'm going to have a kind of a scoop that forces this sort of rectangle of air into there, and also have it so that I can unclip it easily or unfasten it easily or whatever, and just toss a filter on the turbo. Because I'm going to drive this truck on the street more than I'm going to beat on it. I would imagine it's probably going to get, you know, a healthy amount of both. But last time I ran the truck, generally without a turbo, or generally without an air filter, I mean, a lot of the cars we build, there's not a lot of room for an air filter. But with this one being wide open in the grill, I think it's probably smart, especially if I road trip it, like, you know, down to Kentucky again for LS Fest or wherever we're going to drive it. I want to, again, drive this thing. I want to make it safe and I want to make it reliable. So with that being wide open to the elements, instead of having, you know, it tucked behind a cooling stack and whatever else used to be there, that's a pretty large opening for debris. So yeah, that's probably going to do it for this video. Only because today's Wednesday, we have Cars and Coffee coming up on Sunday, but by the time this video comes out, that will be long done and over. So we got a couple of days of cleaning up. We got that running today, actually yesterday, LS3 car. We're going to surprise the customer with it on Sunday, which again, this video will be coming out long after that. So, but yeah, you can see the state of the shop. It's a disaster from thrashing, trying to get a couple cars ready for Cars and Coffee this weekend. Yeah, so I won't be probably working on the truck for about a week. So next plan of attack, we're going to keep working on the tranny crossmember rib cage kind of area. And we're going to keep getting this mounted. And then I'm going to remake the mount for the turbo. Instead of having it mounted to the chassis, we're going to mount it to the engine because it has the rubber mounts now, and I do not want to snap a bunch of tubes, crack a bunch of tubes, just have not a lot of fun doing that. So there you go. I'm pretty happy with how this is coming together. Looks pretty aggressive right now. And I'm hoping to get the right intake coming sooner than later as well. And then we can actually see where that high ram's gonna sit. Because again, that's a mid ram. And then I can get the throttle body on, and I can get the cold pipe made, and maybe some rad hoses. And a few things are gonna come together pretty quick. Also, I have some billet header flanges coming. So once everything is mounted solid and in its home for good, in terms of cooling stack and turbo and the engine with the tranny and the driveline angle all sorted, we're gonna start building headers, which is very exciting. I'm gonna pull the fenders off and then we'll probably set it on the ground, and I'll get going on headers and a downpipe. I'm very excited for that. That'll feel like we're actually making some headway once that starts happening. Even though I feel like we've made a pile of headway in the last couple of weeks already. It actually looks like something that might work someday again. So far cry from a couple of months back. So anyway, yeah, see you guys probably in another week or two, and we'll keep hammering away.